You must be careful about the words you use, or the words you allow to be used in your house. Words are things. You must be careful. Careful about calling people out of their names, using racial pejoratives and sexual pejoratives and all that ignorance. Don't do that.
It's time to talk about it.
Pull up a chair and take a seat.
We're serving up recipes for life.
With Hampton University's Dr. Richard Mason and Dr. Tamara Williams.
Welcome to the Sunday Brunch.
This is Dr. Tamara Williams.
And this is Dr. Richard Mason. Welcome back to the table for another edition of Sunday Brunch with the Good Doctors.
The good doctors.
Well. Welcome back. Always good to be back at the table with you once again. How have you been?
I have been. Does that count? Like, it's always good to be seen, like we said, and not viewed. But yes. I understand that I have been. I have been.
Listen, and having been is a whole nother state of mind, as they say.
Hey.
And what's crazy is I understand when you say you have been.
Mm-hmm. Some days I feel like I've been here, there, and everywhere, up, down, all around.
Listen.
Some days I feel that things are moving more at the pace that I would like it to. But in all things, I'm thankful. I'm not complaining. I'm not just surviving. I'm thriving. And so, it's nothing to complain about. But I recognize that just because I am able to make it through these things, that there are things.
Right.
They're real things.
And it's really about learning to live. I was just having a conversation the other day with someone. And I told him, I said, sometimes you just have to understand that the world is going to keep on turning, whether you're standing on top of it or stretched out underneath of it.
Hope it don't roll me over, you feel me? That is my goal. The canvas is no place for the champion. That's what Muhammad Ali taught me. And so that's how I feel about it. It doesn't mean you won't be knocked down. You just don't need to stay down there.
Look.
I don't like it on the ground. I prefer that, heights, things on top.
Listen, just keep on fighting. That's the thing Muhammad Ali told me. Just keep on fighting. That's what you do.
Keep fighting. Keep fighting. Everybody can't float.
Right, exactly.
But anyway, bro, I am so happy to be back at the table with you. And I know that we're going to have an amazing conversation.
Oh yes, I'm excited. I'm excited because me and our guests go way back, way back.
Do you go way back? So I know you were looking forward to this conversation too.
Yes. And I'm so proud of her. I am so proud of her. It's always good when you see your classmates, come home. They're doing some great things and all. And so I'm really, really proud of her.
Me too. And proud of her, although I have not known her quite as long as you have. But I have watched her and I've seen her work and I've seen how she interacts with our students and I see how they respond to her. And I get this genuine good feeling like I've been wanting to have brunch with her. So I'm excited that she's been able to make some time and come back to her home by the sea.
Yes.
And to brunch with the good doctors on this good Sunday.
Yes, and look at brunch not in the calf like we used to eat in the big calf or the little calf.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. She knows exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly. Well, I'm gonna head on up and get us some bacon and that biscuits with that honey butter. I know what you want, so I'm gonna go ahead.
You already know. And listen, I need a little extra today.
I got you covered. All right.
But we listen and we don't judge.
There you go.
Well, while you're going to get that good food, I want to introduce just slightly, just a little bit, because she's going to tell us so much more about herself. But I'm excited about this topic, and I want to introduce Dr. Lisa Lancon. Dr. Lisa Lancon, yes, she is a Hampton alumna, but she didn't get her doctorate from Hampton. I'll let you tell her where she did get her doctorate. I'll let her tell you where she did get her doctorate from. But one of the reasons why we invited her to the table is she does something different in counseling. Her
Hmm.
training is something that we don't typically hear about when we think about typical clinicians or we think about typical counseling. So I wanted our listeners to hear something different too and hear how she's been able to merge all these things that she does into Dr. Lisa Lacan.
Ah, like clapping. Thank you. Oh my gosh, that's me. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, girl. Yes. You you earned all that and then some.
Oh, wow. Thank you for having me, Doctors Williams and
Hmm.
Mason.
Yes,
I
yes,
am
yes.
so excited to share who I am with the world and my experience and journey and everything. And as Dr. Mason said, we started out, I think we were like 17 years old.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
wow.
Hmm.
Yes, we were
Hmm.
babies.
Yes, long
Where are
time
you
ago.
from, though? Even before coming to Hampton
Mhm.
University, where are you from?
I am from Washington, D.C., born and raised in Washington, D.C. So it's so interesting. I grew up about 15 minutes from Howard University, or I'm a
Hmm.
Georgia Avenue baby.
All
So
right.
I have a heart for Howard University because I spent quite a few,
You
time,
live
years in there.
there. Yeah.
Right. So, that's where I'm from. And it was actually my journey started with the AKAs at Howard who taught me and told me about Hampton University because I had no idea about Hampton. Had no
Really?
idea. Nope, had no idea about
Now,
Hampton.
what I find interesting in that statement is you
Hmm.
took their advice about Hampton and you left their advice about AKA.
Yeah, sorry.
Because you all day, every
Sorry.
day,
Let me tell
Zeta
you,
Phi
that's
Beta
another
sorority
story.
incorporated.
I know, man. No, no, wasn't feeling it. But I tell you, I think my high school counselor, I think she may have been an AKA because I went to this magnet high school called School Without Walls in DC. And
You
at
said
that
school
time,
without walls.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, School Without Walls. It's on the campus of George Washington University, and it was a college prep high school. So my counselor, she had interviewed all of us. It was only 68 of us to graduate. It was a very small school. And she sat me down and she said, Lisa, what do you want to do with your life? Where do you want to go to college? And I said, I don't know. And she was like, What do you mean you don't know? This school has prepared you for this and whatever. But I tell people I was in love with this loser guy, who was cute and fine, and I was distracted. And she said, Lisa, meet me here tomorrow morning, and I'm going to take you somewhere. And she
Mhm.
took me to Howard University, dropped me off. I spent the entire day with the AKAs, and they gave us a whole tour of Howard University. And then they sat us down with like those chicken boxes, the little red and white boxes with the little
Oh yeah.
roll of chicken. Look,
Mm-hmm, hmm.
like what we're eating right now. So
Yeah.
they sat us down, students with potential, but no guidance. I had no
Hmm.
guidance. And I remember she asked, okay, so what did you think of Howard? So I raised my hand and I said, I never want to come to Howard because it's just too close to home. Like
Hmm.
literally, just too close.
You said,
And
I got to get out of here.
right, yeah, I got
Yeah.
to get out. However, I wanted some place that wasn't that far from home because I know I would get homesick. So I said, I don't want to go to Howard, but is there any place like 3 to 4 hours away?
Hmm.
And they said Norfolk State. And I was like, no, my cousin goes to Norfolk State. I spent the weekend there and it just wasn't me. I didn't feel it. And then they said, what about Hampton? And I was like, oh, I had never heard of Hampton. Where is that? They were like, oh, it's in the Hampton Roads area. And I was like, oh, okay. So the interesting thing is my dad and his family, they're from Portsmouth, Virginia. So
Wow.
I would come down to the Hampton Roads area all the time. It was sort of like my extended home. So my grandmother had a birthday party one year, and we were driving, my sister and my then brother-in-law, he has since passed. We were driving and we hit exit 267. And he was like, Lisa, there's Hampton. Do you want us to, drive and see the campus? So I was like, okay, fine. We drive in. Now, Dr. Mason, do you remember the CC store?
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. You can get them two hot dogs and a bag of potato chips. And for me, it was a grape soda.
I used to get the little Debbie's right there on that. So my brother-in-law drove, and I went past the CC store, and I wasn't feeling it at all. It just looked like a little shack.
That's exactly what it was. Didn't look like it is what it was. It was a shack.
You said no, 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 no.
I said no, 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 no. And then he kept driving, and I saw the water.
Mm-hmm.
And that sold me. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my gosh, because I love water. I love
Mm-hmm.
it's just the serenity that water provides for me. And that
Mm-hmm.
was it. That was
Mm-hmm.
it.
Knew there was something that we connected on. It's the
Yes.
water.
Mm-hmm.
That is the water. It's
Mm-hmm.
what keeps me signing my paycheck, the water.
All right. All right. Because you got to keep
Just
the water on.
you hear what I say? That part, hot water on top of that. But you know, I really
Yeah.
enjoy being around the water, being surrounded.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they
Yes.
say you're
Mm-hmm.
home by the sea, it's on
Yeah.
purpose that they say the
Mm-hmm.
sea because
Yes.
it's something. The water is restorative,
It
and
is. It really
Mm-hmm.
is. So I was sold. And
Yeah.
mm,
then I applied to Hampton, and this is the first
mm,
time I'm really telling
Mm-hmm.
people in public. I applied to Hampton, but Hampton rejected me. I got
Mm-hmm.
rejected.
the
Yeah.
best thing they could have did. That made you want to come even more.
Yes,
He's like, oh no,
I
you
was
did.
rejected. And, I applied late because I wasn't focused, and they
Mm-hmm.
rejected me. And during that time, we didn't have emails or anything like that. So remember when we got mail back then, you either got the big envelope, meaning you got accepted, or the
Mm-hmm.
little envelope, which meant you got rejected. So when
Mm,
the little Hampton
Mm-hmm.
envelope came through the mail, I knew instantly what that was. It was a
mm,
rejection. I was like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh. I remember crying because I wanted to come to Hampton so bad. Like that was like, ah. So where my mom worked, she worked in EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission.
Mm-hmm.
The And at the time, Clarence Thomas was the commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
So she worked under Clarence Thomas, and I called my mom that day and I said, Mom, I didn't get in. I got rejected. And she was like, oh, you know what moms do, try to console you and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So she was like, don't worry about it. Let me see what I can do or whatever. So she made a couple of phone calls. So I had to interview someone. I guess he was a donor. His name was Mr. Purrier. I would never forget.
Mm-hmm.
I had
Mm-hmm.
to interview with him to see if I could interview with the dean at that time. And it was
Mm-hmm.
Dean Bowman, Dr. Bowman.
Dr. Ollie Bowman, that was my guy. Yes.
I passed the first test with Mr. Purrier. We had to come down to Hampton, and he
Mm-hmm.
had to, I guess, set eyes on me just to see who I
Mm-hmm.
was or if I was a thug. I don't know. So then I had to go the next step, Dr. Bowman.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you about that interview. Now, mind you,
I'm
my
so
birthday.
happy we invited you to the table. I am so happy. This is turning out to be an excellent lunch. Okay, so tell us.
Let me tell you about this interview. Now, mind you, at this time, I think I was 16 because my birthday is late in the year.
Mm-hmm.
So I come in and he was about what, 5'6", 5". He was a short guy.
Yeah, he was a short guy. Yep. Mm-hmm.
He ripped me to shreds in that interview. Was like, why did you interview? I mean, why did you apply late to the
Mm-hmm.
school? And I was like, well, I didn't know what to say. I couldn't say, well, I wasn't focused. So, I'm like about just stuttering and stuff. And he was like, I really don't like accepting students from DC public schools.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
And Dr. Bowman, straight no chaser. I'm gonna tell
Yeah.
you, straight no chaser.
I felt like it was like a machine gun ripping
Mhm.
me to
Yes.
pieces. And he was
Mhm.
like, I don't like accepting students from DC because number one, the schools aren't that good. Number two, when you get here, you don't graduate on time. Number three, when you get here, your GPA is low. I mean, and it was just a bullet after a bullet after a bullet after a bullet. I literally cried in his office.
Really?
Oh, yes. I told you I'm a crier, you know.
See, that would have angered me. The activist would have rose up in me.
No, I didn't get angry. I don't know why. I
I was
think
like,
I was too
you see how
afraid
I'm
to get
taking my button
angry.
down right now? You see how I'm taking my button down right now? That's what had pretty much happened in the office right there because you challenging not only me, but you challenging my ancestors, sir. And you have not only met me for 3 seconds. So let me tell you not only about me, but let me introduce you to yourself.
Gosh, I think I was just so intimidated by him and just, I just started crying and crying and crying, and my mom was waiting for me
And your
downstairs.
mama was there? Oh no.
She was she was she was outside. This was in the old A building, and
Mhm.
she was
Mm.
outside. And
Mhm.
I believe his office was upstairs, up the steps, and I can't remember what door, but I had to kind of pull myself together because I did not want to have my mom see me cry. It was
Mhm.
like I just did not. So then he said, Dr.
It
Bowman,
would have been worse. It would have been worse than crying in
Mhm.
front of him. Yeah.
Mhm.
yes,
Yeah.
would have been. I'm like, I can't see. Oh, my
Yeah.
mom cannot
Mhm.
see me cry. So
Yeah.
he
Cause
said,
she
okay,
went in
so,
there.
oh, yeah. So Dr. Bowman said, okay, I'll give you an opportunity to come. You have to go to the summer bridge program,
Mhm.
the pre-college program.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay. And I went to pre-college, fell in love with it, and the rest is history.
Mhm. Mhm.
To say, first year and second year, I was off campus.
Mhm.
What?
I lived right in Phoebus.
Mhm.
Yes. Because
Mhm.
he said there was no housing for me.
Because of you applying late.
Yes.
They
Mhm.
had
And
okay.
right. And I believe at that time, that was 1987. That was one
Mhm.
of the largest entering freshman classes.
Yes, yes, we were the largest at that time.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah.
Okay.
So that pre-college experience changed my life. I found my tribe. And I tell students, if I did not have that pre-college experience being
Mhm.
16 and 17 off of campus, I would have hated Hampton.
Mhm.
Because you
Mhm.
would not have had that connection,
Mhm.
Absolutely.
which is necessary in those freshman dorms to have
Oh,
that connection and to
yes.
find your people and also the rigor that comes with having a curfew
Yes.
initially. And then,
Mhm.
also everybody around you is doing the same thing. When you're off campus, you have less connection in that. Yes, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
So that started my journey, at Hampton. And I
Mhm.
wanted to thank Dr. Bowman. I didn't get a chance to because he
Mhm.
died. And
Mhm.
I realized I was like, oh, so that is a regrettable moment. And I've learned give people their flowers while they're living.
Yes.
That's
Mhm.
interesting you say that because I don't know if I would have thanked him for making me cry.
Oh, yes.
But I would thank him there in the moment for the opportunity to attend Hampton because that is
Mm.
life changing. But I I
You
don't know
know
the
why?
But
the clinician in me is
no,
not one to beat people up
that let me
in
tell
that
you something.
process.
That built resilience. I'm gonna tell you, and
Yes.
that's what makes us different. When I talk
Yes.
about the Dr. Bowmans, the Mr. Fears, in over in the financial in the student accounts office, if your bill wasn't paid, he escorted you to the door. He had to make sure Hampton needs his money today. You want a class, you better pay us. Where your mom and daddy? Get them back here. They need to write us a check. You cannot
Yes.
register for classes. Oh yeah, it was
Oh, there was
resilience.
no
Tell you,
sensitivity
Mm-mm,
training.
mm-mm,
there
That
was
was
no.
no,
not a part of
Mm-mm,
the process.
it was not. Let me tell you what
mm-mm,
that experience did. it allowed me to have such thick skin.
Yes.
Although I'm a crier, there's certain things that I cry like when I see something that, is impacting me, heartfelt. But in the
Mm-hmm.
midst, I can stand up against the best of them because
Mm-hmm.
of that experience right there. As a
Yes.
16-year-old,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
as a
Mm-hmm.
16-year-old, and it taught me about rejecting the rejection.
Yes.
I
Yes.
had to
Mm-hmm.
reject the rejection
That's right.
because
Mm-hmm.
if I did not, I wouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How to make a no a yes, and that was the
Yes,
Yeah.
bottom line, because it was nothing like sitting in Holland Hall and
John.
trying to get registered and figuring out what am I going to do because they're telling me I need a check, and we didn't have cell phones, so it wasn't like you just gonna call your mama and daddy and tell them, hey, I need a check
Yes,
right now. No, you had to figure this out and negotiate.
yes,
You hear what I'm
yes.
saying?
My mom used to give me money like $500. Here, talk your way, work your way, and give it to the candy store. I'm like, oh God.
Yes. Get on a payment plan, work in the munchie shop. I'm forever thankful to Nate and who got me, Nate Laws, who got me a job working in the munchie shop. I'm going to tell you, in the student union.
Absolutely. So yeah, so that started my journey, but
And what did you major in, Lisa? Did you major in psychology?
so initially I majored in psychology.
Mm.
However, based on my personality, I thought psychology was boring. It
Mm-hmm.
was too scientific for me. I needed something a little different where I could study not individual, but people and norms and mores. And so I chose sociology.
Sociology.
Right.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I wanted to prove Dr. Bowman wrong. I did not want to change my major to something really drastic. And then he'll be like, see, I told you about your DC students. Y'all don't graduate on time. So I chose sociology. But
Mm-hmm.
the interesting thing about coming to Hampton and the reason why I'm so passionate about Hampton and working with, our population is because when I came to Hampton, I was very depressed,
Mm-hmm.
very, very depressed. I was in a,
Yes, because you had a man that made you cry. Before you even
that,
got to class.
I had
Before you even got to class.
right? Exactly. I should have been. But I was in a terrible relationship, domestic
Oh.
violence.
Oh.
Yeah. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of youth, we don't talk about that. And I was
Mm.
so shamed and just everything. So Hampton was the perfect escape for me because I was
Mm-hmm.
really starting to lose my identity. I had low self-esteem. And sometimes, growing up in DC, being my complexion, they just looked at you as, you're not the best looking, you're not the brightest, you're not the. So I had to contend with colorism in DC. I had to contend
Mm-hmm.
with, being abused by a boyfriend at the age of 15, 16,
Mm-hmm.
and no one knew except for him and maybe people on the street that saw certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So
You didn't tell your mom.
I know I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I did not tell a single soul. I was so embarrassed.
So
So
when you got to the office at Hampton and he started barking and doing all of this stuff, it was like a reflection of all the other stuff that you were already experiencing as well.
so maybe that's why it didn't bother me. It just did there. I just cried because I felt bad that he chewed me out,
Mhm.
but I didn't feel, like I want to bash him over the head or anything like that. And, I tell people this is why I have such a great love for this university.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, it saved me in a
It
sense.
Mm-hmm.
saved you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
even it helped you find whoever you were in the first place.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And that's that whole college experience. You come in as an adolescent and you leave as an emerging adult, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to try to figure things out. And it's just a wonderful thing. And it's just, I wouldn't change a thing. I
Yeah.
definitely wouldn't.
Mm-mm.
Mhm.
I
No,
wouldn't.
not at all.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I was
I
very
love to hear our
depressed.
stories when we find our voices, and
Hmm.
it's nothing like talking to our classmates when they, talk about how they found their voice at Hampton. Because like I said, Hampton gave us a sense of power,
Mhm.
and a sense of finding out who we were, and that whole sense of becoming, and that was just an absolute amazing time for me, I can say. And I definitely wouldn't change a thing. I'm forever grateful to, Dr. Mamie Locke, Mr. Novell Dickinson. Those were my professors when I was at Hampton. Even in graduate school, Dr. Joanne Haysbert, those were the people who really, really drilled into who I've become. And I'm very thankful for my Hampton experience. It's
Yep.
truly a home experience.
Yes. When you can rattle off your professors, Dr.
Hmm.
Bernadette Holmes, Dr.
Yes.
Dogby,
Yep.
Dr.
Hmm.
Stephen Rosenthal, like you
Yep.
can, like,
Hmm. Hmm.
there's something there.
Yep.
And it is a place that just really was a launching pad for
Hmm.
what was to come, the next chapter of my life.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
So
yeah.
tell us, Lisa,
Uh-huh.
then how did you get from sociology
Hmm.
into your grad work? What was that leap? How did that leap come?
Okay, man. All right. So I came in 1987, graduated in 1991. So I
Hmm.
don't know. I'm sure you all remember we had the crack epidemic during that
Yes.
time.
Hmm.
It was awful, 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 especially in DC. We had a mayor that was under investigation.
Hmm.
We had in DC, it was the murder capital of the world. And there
Hmm.
was just so much happening during that time. And I wanted to leave DC. Another thing that was happening during that time was HIV AIDS. So
Hmm.
we had crack,
Hmm.
had killings, and we had AIDS during that point. And
That's enough to be depressed over too.
this, when you think about it, it's a lot. But at Hampton, I met a lot of New Yorkers. I used to hang out with my New York City people more
Mhm.
so
Hmm.
than the DC people.
Hmm.
And I just gravitated toward New York.
Hmm.
And when I was in high school, I visited New York and something told me, Lisa, you're going to move here. You're going to move here.
Hmm.
So I eventually, after Hampton, I had several jobs. I worked at a group home because sociology, and then I
Mhm.
worked at the DC government as a Medicaid worker. But it was still pulling me. New York was pulling me. It was like I got to come to New York, got to come to New York. And because HIV AIDS was so prevalent back then, I went to, I can't remember the name, I think it was Walt Whitman Clinic, and I took a health education class. It was like for 8 weeks, and I became certified as a health educator. So, armed with my sociology degree from Hampton and with my work experience, and then with the certification, I applied to this agency in Brooklyn called Women in AIDS Resource Network. And back then, we only
Brave
had,
and bold of you.
yeah.
At a young age. How brave and bold. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that you would say that because most people from DC, when I'm telling them I want to move to New York, they're like, "Don't look at anybody in the face. Don't look at them in the eyes. They're going to kill you." I'm like,
Hmm. Hmm.
Some of that is accurate. Some of that could be life saving
Hmm.
advice, but not everyone operates that way.
No, no, not everyone. So I knew maybe two people in Brooklyn, and during that time we had phone books. So I would come up on the weekend, look through the phone book and call people, "Are you hiring? Are you hiring?" And that's how I came to New York. So I was in New York as a health educator. However, during that time, if you were diagnosed with HIV AIDS or HIV, several weeks later, you would be diagnosed with AIDS.
It was
And
the
then
Hmm.
death
several,
sentence then.
that was what it was like.
It was a
fast.
death sentence
It
then, yeah.
was a death sentence, and I was around so much death. It was just too
Mm-hmm.
much as someone who's 23, 24, 25, whatever, just being around death. Like it was just too much. So I had to segue out of that, and then I transitioned into the music industry. So,
Really?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked at Def Jam, and
Really?
yes.
And that was a good time to work in Def Jam.
Oh,
That was
it was
some good,
Yes.
that was some good
Mm-hmm.
music
It
coming out. What you
was,
talking
I'm telling
about?
you, it was awesome. It was
Oh,
awesome. And I got that job at the time my husband, and this is interesting. I met my husband in Brooklyn
Mm-hmm.
through his very good friend who graduated from Hampton.
Mm-hmm.
Now, his friend that graduated from Hampton, he was in a class above me, and I would always see him leaving Buckman, and I would be going to MLK because that's where my building was, and he was a business major. But I never really spoke to him. I just saw him in passing, you know. And then when I moved to New York, I saw him on the street.
what
And
are the chances of that with all the people in New York?
yes, telling you. And we stopped and turned around at the same time and said, "You went to Hampton." So, yes,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that was my husband's friend. So, what happened was he invited me to go out to a party or a music something, some preview. I think it was a movie premiere
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
Panther with Mario Van Peebles.
Ooh,
Right back in
Mm-hmm.
the day,
Okay.
right? And Bobby
Mm-hmm.
Brown. Was that Bobby Brown in that too? So that's how I met my husband. And then he had the relationship to get me connected to work at Def Jam.
Okay.
So I did that for a little while. And then my life transitioned again because it was at that stage where I found the Lord and I got married. So my life transitioned and then we moved to Jersey.
okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Jersey now as a wife and a mother, and I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. Yeah.
Now that is
Okay.
quite the transition. Battling HIV and AIDS and ignorance through
Uh,
through education to the music industry
yeah,
to
right?
finding Jesus and just staying at home. Now
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yes.
a lot. So that means you were
Yes.
if you're a stay at home, that means you're raising kids.
Yes. Yes. So
Yeah.
we have four children and they're all 18 months apart. And I had a state registered daycare, family daycare. So
Okay.
I took care of our children as well as others while getting paid. So it was great because I felt like I'm just as smart as the daycare teachers. I could, and these are my children, you know what I mean? So I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. And I did it for a while and then I got tired. I said, Lord,
Yes,
I need a
Lord.
break.
Mm-hmm.
I
Some
need a
people
break.
can't handle their own kids, and then you were like, "Give me more."
I was at the breaking point when you go to the bathroom and they knock on the door and you can't go. I'm like, oh, okay, this is enough. This is enough.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Mm-hmm.
transition to getting my master's in rehabilitation counseling.
How
So
did you get to rehabilitation counseling?
So it's so interesting. So my husband worked with rehabilitation counselors in New York, and he told me about the program. NYU had a master's program, and I couldn't do the master's program because I just had a newborn. So I helped a friend of mine get into the school. I helped her write her letter and stuff like that, and she got into the school. And I figured it was something that I would love to do, working with people with disabilities and getting them back to work. And
Mm-hmm.
I just love the two aspects of employment, workforce development, and working with disenfranchised individuals so they can have any type of disability, whether it's physical, developmental, psychiatric, whatever it is, having them get back to work. So I had my social services foundation. And then what happened in New Jersey, Seton Hall University had the program, and then they shut the program down. And then it was transferred to University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey, UMD and J. So
Mm-hmm.
I started my master's program, rehab counseling, and I fell in love with it. Fell in love with it. So yeah, so that's how. And I think because of so many years, when I say so many years, I feel like I'm 80 years old, like Miss Jane Pittman. I think because I had such I think because I had such a variety of employment options, and I know that for me, employment and work is a healthy distraction. I
Mm-hmm.
want it to be a healthy distraction for others in a sense that have, you know, experienced some type of disability or something, you know, in their lives. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got got my master's in rehab counseling. And then with that, I wanted to sit for my certification as a CRC or certified rehabilitation counselor. Now, a lot of folks may not be familiar with, rehab counseling, but basically we work really at like the Veterans Administration. They
Mm-hmm.
we're highly sought out with the Veterans Administration, and the counseling that we do is top notch because you're really dealing with not only their disability, you're dealing with the family dynamic, and you're dealing with the employment dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
So we would be an advocate for the individual.
You were like a social worker on steroids,
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
we are. Yes, we are.
or
We
like
definitely are.
all the different pieces that
Yes.
from the different systems that they need.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So we work oftentimes with occupational therapists.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole multidisciplinary approach that we work with and who we work with because when you think about employment, sometimes you don't think, okay, I have an accident. Not only do I need accommodations in my home, I need accommodations at work.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So we help navigate that person to have the accommodations at work as well.
Who then pays you? Is it paid through insurance, or is it like a self
Yes.
pay, or is it a grant situation? How does it work?
Yes. So, say for instance, in New Jersey, they have the Department of Labor, and under the Department of Labor, they have the Division of Vocational and Rehabilitation Services.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So and I think in Virginia, it's called OVR is called Pennsylvania. I forgot what it's called in Virginia, but basically it's based on the government. So yes, you get paid
Mm-hmm.
that way from the Department of Voc Rehab Services. So
Mm-hmm.
people with a disability, they have to show that they have evidence of a disability, go to the Voc Rehab counselor in a sense, and then the Voc Rehab counselor will farm it out to people like me or I can do it privately with the CRC.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. So yeah, so it's a very interesting field in that, again, you are pretty aware of the various disabilities,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
of spinal cord injuries, yeah, acquired brain injuries, the impact of that, ADHD,
Mm-hmm.
ADD, schizophrenia, schizoaffective, but some rehab counselors, they have a specialty,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and then my specialty is psychiatric disabilities
Mm-hmm.
and psychiatric rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us how that became your love of a specialty.
So, it's so interesting. Oh, man. I tell people because I never really wanted to work with that population because I didn't know too much about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know growing up in DC, we saw, at least I did, where I lived, I saw people, I didn't know the name of it. We just said they were a dime short. the elevator didn't reach the you know what I'm saying? In
Yeah.
the black community, the elevator didn't reach the top floor, but we didn't know it was schizophrenia. We didn't know it
Right.
was bipolar. We just knew
Right.
You saw
something.
them on the streets. You saw them
Mm-hmm.
homeless. You saw the
Mm-hmm.
aftermath of what
Yes,
Right.
happened
Right.
during
yes,
during crack and all that time. You
right,
saw the
Mm-hmm.
destitute of them like
yes.
self-medicating and doing all these things.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. So it was very frightful for me, to be sitting on the bus with them. I'm in the heart of the
Mm-hmm.
city and they're just like, oh my gosh. And then we had a very big psychiatric hospital called St. Elizabeth's.
I
Right.
remember
That's where
hearing
John
about Santa Elizabeth.
Hinckley, right, the
Yes.
one that tried to
Mm-hmm.
assassinate Ronald Reagan, that's where he
Mm-hmm.
was. John Hinckley, yes.
Yes.
So you
Mm-hmm.
had people that would elope or escape,
Mm-hmm.
from the hospital, and they would just be roaming around in their hospital gowns and stuff. And you would see this, you're like, what the heck?
You saw quite a bit in DC. People see
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit today in DC.
Mm-hmm.
You see clowns. You see all kinds of things. But
But yeah, you did, you saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how it came on, my lap, how it fell on my lap. I know how. Um, what happened was I worked it was called Volunteers of America.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Volunteers of America, which is a huge non-for-profit agency. And I did supportive housing. And in supportive housing in the state of New Jersey, you have different levels of housing. And that particular house that I was stationed, it was a 24-hour facility. It was called A Plus, and it worked with those that had psychiatric disabilities, and they were not able at that time to live on their own. So we had two
Mm-hmm.
nurses, we had two cooks, we had overnight staff, we had everything. And I fell in love with the population, fell in love with the population, and Rutgers had the program. And I knew the people from my master's program because that's where I went. UMDNJ, in a sense, folded, Rutgers took over. And I have been affiliated with Rutgers for a very long time. So I entered the program, and it was a very rigorous program. And
Mm-hmm.
in 2020, that's when I graduated. I was the very first Black person to graduate from that program at Rutgers.
did
Oh,
you
wow.
say in 2020
Yes.
Mm.
in our at our big age in 2020?
Yeah.
Be first.
The first.
Wow.
Mm.
The
Mm.
first.
Now, have any come after you?
Yes.
Okay, that's a good
Okay,
thing.
good, good,
Yes.
good.
Yes.
Okay, throw that rope back. That's
Right,
good.
right. Okay, I just want to.
Absolutely. So I'm still, affiliated with Rutgers, like on their advisory council and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And it was a wonderful experience. So I received my master's rehabilitation counseling and my doctorate in psychiatric rehabilitation. And a lot of people are like, well, what is psychiatric rehabilitation? And I basically say psychiatric rehabilitation is really dealing with the risk factors of people that have psychiatric disabilities,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with the side effects of it. And
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes, some of the side effects people think, outside of the medication side effects, there are other side effects that happen with people with psychiatric disabilities. My
Mm-hmm.
wheelhouse is employment. They're underemployed.
Mm-hmm.
Some people it's education, so you have supported education. Some
Mm-hmm.
people it's housing, and you have the supportive housing piece. And then the wellness component is the metabolic issue. Some people
Mm-hmm.
that, the side effects of the medication, whether it's, hypertension, diabetes, and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So I work, well, in my former capacity, really work with a lot of psychiatrists to
Mm-hmm.
assist them because psychiatrists, they don't really look at the person with the psychiatric disability outside of a person with a psychiatric disability. This
Right.
person has a husband, this person may have a wife, this person may have children, and this person may
Mm-hmm.
want to work.
Right.
So, what I do is I advocate, with them.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes with the psychiatrist, if the side effects are impairing my person to be gainfully employed, we may have to do some adjustments. with the medication.
Mm-hmm.
So the psychiatrist is pretty much on board with it. And then another capacity, I am not able to make a diagnosis. I am only
Mm-hmm.
able to assess and evaluate. And based on my assessment and evaluation, the psychiatrist can say, okay, based on what you have said and based on what I have seen, I can diagnose this person as A, B, or C. So we do thorough assessments, thorough evaluations, and then we
Mm-hmm.
pass that information on to a clinician that is able to diagnose.
Mm-hmm. And
Thank you for
that's good.
clarifying that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's good because one of the things I've seen in working with clients who needed like mental health skill building is what they were doing here in Virginia. That's the piece that was missing, having someone that could work with them in terms of helping them to get once they've taken the medication to get adjusted to the medication. How now can I take my medication and work and be gainfully employed, at least part-time or, in some capacity so that I'm just
Right.
not sitting at home, so I can have a good quality of life.
Right. And that's what psychiatric rehabilitation is all about. We want to normalize the playing field. If you have a
Mm-hmm.
psychiatric disability, you should be able to purchase a home. You should be
Mm-hmm.
able to work full time. You don't have to be on Social Security, and
Right,
earn
right.
or receive $10,000 a year and live in
Mm-hmm.
poverty.
Right.
So this is our field. And at Rutgers, it's the only program like this in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
yes, it's the only program like this in the country, and it's a lot of research
Mm-hmm.
heavy, research heavy, because we're trying to find out what are best practices for this population, how they can live a
Mm-hmm.
normal life. People with psychiatric disabilities, they want to take trips, they want
Mm-hmm.
to go to Florida, they want to go to Hawaii, they want to go to Europe, but how do you do that if you have no money? If,
Right. Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
that's
How can you still be a meaningful citizen and
Mm-hmm.
yes,
still find value in the world and feel as if people still value you as
Mm-hmm.
right,
well? Yeah.
right. So, there's a lot of stigma attached
Hmm.
to, people with psychiatric disabilities. And then another one of my focus areas working with sex offenders
Mm-hmm.
with psychiatric disabilities. They have a mental illness because I worked with one gentleman. It was so interesting. He has a developmental disability, psychiatric disability, and he is a registered sex offender.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got really into schizophrenia and stuff like that. And I just find it very intriguing,
Mm-hmm.
very intriguing.
And that's a tough population. When
That's
you
a
start
very tough
getting into
population.
schizophrenia and schizoaffective in those areas and all as
Mhm.
well. Working with, I've worked with a couple of families that have had to deal with that, and helping the families on that end to just balance the needs of their loved one that was, schizoaffective and schizophrenic. It's like how do you balance that? And it's
And
tough.
not respond to some of their positive symptoms,
Right,
negatively. How do you separate your feelings from the
right,
reality of what is actually
Hmm.
happening and occurring when sometimes it's not convenient for you,
right.
Right.
or they're not working or taking their medication consistently as you would
Hmm.
like
Yes,
them to be, because once they feel like it's working, that's when they want to stop
Hmm.
taking it all of a sudden. It's
right,
like, I don't need it anymore. See,
Right.
I'm better now. So
right.
Hmm.
dealing with all those nuances. But see, you added the extra part. You said sexual
Mhm.
offenders.
Yes,
So,
Yeah.
we do know that a lot of times when people are sexual offenders, people have offended on them. And so
hmm,
ooh,
right.
that's a lot of the things. And then you talk about
Hmm.
developmentally delayed and all these other disabilities that could occur
Right.
where, that does
Hmm.
get complicated.
Yeah,
Right.
As to how,
absolutely.
yeah.
Right. And
Absolutely.
building some understanding of, I guess, the sexual offender part is possibly tied and, as a part of the manifestation of their schizophrenic diagnosis, so that's the piece that, a lot of people may not understand,
Yeah,
and so
that
being
part
there,
to get you
yeah,
hospitalized and incarcerated.
right,
Right,
exactly.
right, right.
Hmm.
So in Jersey, we have a hospital, a psychiatric hospital. It's called Lancon. So
Mm-hmm.
it's for, if you're found sometimes not guilty by reason of insanity,
Mm-hmm.
NGRI, that's where you would be placed.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had one client, he tried to stab both his parents. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, a voice told him to do this.
Mm-hmm.
This is who, we're dealing with when it comes to this population. And for people who may not know, like say for instance, what is it? People mix up like multiple personalities. That's not schizophrenia.
At
That's not
all.
Mm-hmm.
schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is basically, sensory experiences of something that's not there. And I
Mm-hmm.
tell people, like, what are your five senses for having, like, in the sense of the compartment of hallucinations? Your five senses, your visual, your hearing, auditory, your taste,
Mm-hmm.
tactile, your smelling, olfactory, and gestalt, your taste, all that stuff. So if I believe that I see someone and they're not really there, I am hallucinating,
Mm-hmm.
or if I hear something that's not really there, I'm hallucinating, So it's a very interesting thing. And I try to educate the family members because I tell family members, just like people may have a bad heart or a bad gut or a bad arm, sometimes your brain is not functioning as it ought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
it's very challenging for parents, for loved ones, because people do go through cycles, like you said, if you're
Mhm.
adherent to your medication regimen and then you stop,
Mm-hmm.
then you may experience psychoses and so yeah. And then for those that have delusions, it's just a false belief system. I had one client who you couldn't tell her that she wasn't married to John Denver.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, she was married to
She was convinced.
she was convinced she was married to John Denver. Yeah, and you can't say, like, you can't.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm. 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 Mm.
so
Wow.
yeah.
We are rapidly approaching our wrap up time, but before
Mm.
we get there, I want to make sure that you talk about your book because you talk about schizophrenia,
Oh,
but talk
yes.
about how you got to this point of this book that you have.
Yes. So this book, and I call it the Tiny Book of Scriptures for Individuals with Schizophrenia. And it really is a tiny book. I
It
wanted a
is.
book, yes, I wanted a book that could be very discreet, that you can put it in your pocket just in
Mm-hmm.
case you feel the onset of something coming on. And basically it deals with a couple of sections. So scriptures to combat harming yourself, scriptures to combat harming others, and scriptures to combat fear. Now, this book was actually given to me because a situation that happened in my home. So, my daughter was sitting on the porch and she was reading a Bible. And then I
Mm-hmm.
see somebody come to sitting on the porch with her. And I didn't know if it was a little boy, little girl. I didn't know what it was. And I'm like, who is this sitting on the porch with my daughter?
Yes,
And
who
Mm-hmm.
is it?
Right.
then I looked out the window and I saw that it was an adult. And like, my daughter's an adult. So they were just talking. And my daughter had her Bible open and reading the Bible to the young lady. And I finally went out there and my daughter introduced me to this young lady. And basically, that's who this book is dedicated to. Her name is Jen. So, what I saw on my video camera, was this lady had come from the location of the beach, like the Buckrow Beach area, and
Mm-hmm.
she ran in my yard hiding behind the trash can.
Let
Mm.
me tell you how you better than me, Lisa, already.
Woo!
There's a special place in heaven for you, Lisa, because I'm gonna tell you, if somebody run out the bushes at my house, it's pew pew time.
She did. She ran behind the trash can and she was like looking like somebody was after her. And then I guess she was having a conversation with my daughter and said, "Are these people after me?" And then she asked my daughter a very poignant question. How can you tell the voice of God from the voice of a mental illness?
Mm-hmm.
And that was it right there. Because back in the day, in my 20s, I had, like I said, I didn't know the name, but I had a friend that said God told him to rob a store. And I believed it. What?
Mm-hmm.
That have a relationship with God. So I didn't know. I'm like, okay, maybe God did. I'm just,
No. God is not an author of confusion.
right. And that's what these scriptures are to combat. Okay, so if you have fear, like I love this scripture about fear, 2 Timothy, for God has not given me or us the spirit of fear, but
Fear.
power, love, and a sound mind.
Yeah.
Yes, and a sound mind. And if you continue to repeat these scriptures over and over and get them into your spirit, get them into your heart, it's sort of like, okay, so I'm going to combat this fear because there's something greater than the fear. Because that young lady, she had fear. She was experiencing, I guess, in a sense, both paranoid. She was very paranoid at that point. And she thought people were after her. And that's why I dedicated the book to her and haven't seen her since. She was here one day and then gone, just so yeah.
She was there to bring you some inspiration.
Yeah,
I'm telling you. And she came to the right house.
She did
at the right time. and it is in you. And it has been of you because your daughter had that same spirit that you are possessing. She was just as patient. And so she's seen you operate in that realm. And so that in itself is amazing that, you generated someone just like you.
Yeah. Thank you. So if you want to pick up a book, it's on Amazon. You can find it. I think it's at Barnes and Noble and Amazon, and it's called The Tiny Book of Scriptures for Individuals with Schizophrenia. And if anyone would like to receive a free copy, I can give away the first 5 folks that email me at, let's see, which email do I want, at urbantoolsforchange at gmail.com.
Thank you for offering that.
Yeah.
Thank you for offering that. I have had the pleasure of reading the book, and I think that it's a great, like you said, just a tiny resource for people to get more positivity in their life during those moments, something they can reach back to if they don't have a support system or they don't have anybody to help ground them. And, God is always a great option.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's why the little tiny book exists. So this is a little thing right here. So yeah, thank you.
Well, I'm certainly going to order that book after I finish eating this bacon, though. But I'm certainly going to order it.
Good.
Well, listen. I have had a time right here. It's always good to be right back here at the table with you all, and definitely with my sister. It's so good to be here. So join us next week. I am Dr. Richard Mason.
And I am Dr. Tamara Williams.
We'll be right back here at WHOV Smooth 88.1 FM for the most delicious hour in radio.
The essence of HU.
Keep your fork.
Someday we'll be able to measure the power of words. I think they are things. I think they get on the walls. They get in your wallpaper. They get in your rugs, in your upholstery, in your clothes, and finally into you.
Thank you for joining us at the table.
Tune in next Sunday at 1 p.m. for more delicious topical recipes for life on the Sunday Brunch.
On Smooth 88.1 WHOV.